Okay, now this is going to be the put together of the machine. Basically, first off is putting the glove on again. And what you're going to do is, first process would be bolting the motor back in place, making sure that the wires are not in your way, because they usually do get in your way when you do. Make sure they're off to the left. And basically what you want to do is screw the two first ones in. It's not much of a hard area to put these back in. Basically, it's nice to have a magnetic socket. It works actually a little better. Or okay, that does it for that section. What we're also going to do now is we're going to install the C-clamp area, which has to go back on now. And usually this piece isn't too hard to slide in. You usually use a finger, pop it on, and you usually can use a screwdriver, which I usually use a flat or any tool. Just put a little push on it, locks it back in place. Basically right now we're going to grab the reed head. Like I usually do is I grab a clean cloth and actually clean the rod up, which I'm showing you now, and use a glove when you're touching it so none of your oils from your hands get on it. And what you're going to do now is you're going to actually see me put the corner in first, because there's a roller on that side, there's a wheel. Alright, then you're going to put the rod to it. Alright, this is one thing that you have to really watch for when you're reinstalling this. Putting the rod in, pushing it down, and making sure that the is in its locked position. But you got to be careful, because you got to look how far your tendency is to go to the back. See, I'm not being able to go all the way back now to where the stopper usually is over here. That's a problem now. So what I have to do is I have to lift this up, go all the way back, bring it forward, and then go all the way back. I'm still having a problem here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it, and now I got it. I hear the latch, because there's a little switch underneath here on the inside that actually latches. So if you don't do it right, it doesn't go click on the inside, which it needs to go click. Because if it doesn't move, then you have a problem. And then basically that does your install point for that. And then what you want to do is you want to remove the bolt here where the wire sits. Alright. Basically put the wire back in, bring this back down. You can tighten it back up just snug, don't go too crazy with tightening bolts. Plug the wire back in the back here, make sure all the prongs go in perfectly correct. That does that install. You can pull this forward now, and what you want to do is install on this one it's actually metal. It's called the stepper for the first 10 steps of the video, which is basically the fast track of it. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to put the two screws back in the back here and reinstall this, because this actually needs to be reinstalled before you actually start the process of actually turning it on and then adjusting. If you're after this is done and this is installed and it's still not working right with the skipping, what you're going to want to do is take the cover off, like I was just stating on here on the top cover of the machine, which has the adjuster, which you're going to have to unsolder the 2 points, which is one is right there, the other one is in the front here, right there. Then you can remove this cover, and the adjustment is right through that hole. It's that little white thing, and you're going to need a T10 socket to actually get in there. See how it locks now? This is basically what you want. Alright. Basically, once that's all installed, what you're going to want to do is put all your original plates back in, which I'm doing actually now. Once these are all installed, basically this is the whole front of the machine. You're just basically putting the whole top computer back in instead. That's basically what I'm doing. You flip this back over like so, and then basically this is how you actually service the actual front panel and taking it off. And you also got to make sure when you put it back together that you don't get caught up with wires, because these wires will actually bind on you, and they're actually part of the switches in the in front here, which I'll actually show you, which you probably know on yours is the same thing. I've actually changed a couple of the switches on this model to be exact because of the same problem, and I've had problems with the load lever sequence not working or the turntable not turning like it should be, all due to a bad switch, which is very common. And you also have to pay attention to one more thing once the whole thing is put back together, which would be the turntable height. And a lot of people kind of overdo this on a lot of these machines for the SFT, understanding that basically the turntable has to be at a specific height when you put this thing in load, because if it doesn't hit the certain height, your video, pitch, audio will not come in with the perspective of what it's originally supposed to do. And I'll actually show you where the turntable actually sits. And basically this is what I'm going to do now. I'm actually going to bring you inside here to the tip, and I'm actually going to put it in the load process. And in the load process, you see that it has a certain amount of height here on the top where I'm actually pointing. There's actually a certain amount of height that this thing actually sits, and that turntable height is very important for the machine. So when this turntable turns like it is now in the load position, that when this comes forward, that the stylus actually puts down and actually reads and actually plays the video, and actually you can actually hear and see the video. And basically that's basically all that you have to do with putting it back together. You just have to really make sure that this goes back and forth and that you can hear that click. That's a little bit of an adjustment that you can always do yourself. It's pretty easy. You got to take the 2 bolts off in the back, which I'm actually showing you here. Those 2 bolts, take them out, and then basically the rod that's right there, you got to pull up with it, and then just make sure the wire is disconnected here so that you can actually service this and take this out. But yeah, it even tells you on it that it's the servo adjustment. That's basically what it is. Servo balance adjustment. Basically, the book states it, but it doesn't put it out there that controls it. And I guess not too many people that own these machines don't really know about that. So basically, this video is to help you out and actually troubleshoot any issues. Another issue I've seen a lot of people have is basically inside here, which would be this little round part right here. We have a lot of issues on some of the styluses pushing in the rubber that hits the back of the stylus to point down. There is a way to adjust the screws here, but you have to be really careful adjusting because sometimes they can snap. Other than that, you have to make sure once in a while, go in there, take the stylus out, and actually get a can of what they call canned air that they use for the computers, and actually blow it out, because inside there, if you actually see inside there to the right, you see the prongs that stick out when the stylus goes down to actually read from. Those 2 little metal things right there need to be cleaned out, and then this little metal arm here that sits somewhat in the middle, that has a little switch, that also goes down and collects materials from the disc itself. That little metal rod there that you see, the little tab, that actually collects dust from the CD and materials from it, which is the best idea to clean it once in a while. Alright, and that's the end of this video. And this is basically your put together and cleaning of the SFT 100W, same as the SGT 100W from RCA.